I'd like to call this regular Bayfield Town Board meeting to order at 6:33 for Tuesday, May 6, 2025. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Here.
Trustee Zazzaro. Trustee Hartz.
Here.
Trustee Katzos.
Here.
Trustee Moreland. Here. Trustee McLaurin.
Here.
And Mayor Ah.
Here. All rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is conflicts of interest. Does the board have any conflicts of interest
No.
No.
other than myself, who will be out for 4A? In which case you are running the meeting. General public input for anything that is not on the agenda.
Good evening. I haven't floated away yet, but getting close. The reason I'm here is to speak on behalf of the Bayfield Police Department. I think that we have a very good group of guys on that department. I've had to utilize them last week, and I have also been paying attention to, because I've heard a comment it made in here that they are not patrolling, and so I thought I'd pay attention. And there's a lot of times in the nighttime that they're out there. In the daytime, they've cut a lot of the traffic off and dealt with issues that were going on in my neighborhood. I think we all need to support these guys. They do a great job. The chief has brought the department up to a good standard, I believe. And I think we should all be proud of who we have here in Bayfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
No, I think I missed something.
Paul Black, 311 County Road, 501. I just wanted to, can you guys hear me? I hope.
Yeah.
I'm here on behalf of Upper Pine Fire Protection. We're asking the town of Bayfield for a letter of support for our Fire Station 1. We're writing Jeff Hurd. We're gonna ask for some congressional money for our community room from them. And our admin actually put together a draft for you guys so you can review it and just check it out, but we're just asking for some support from the town of Bayfield to help us along that path. So I actually have a copy of that letter if you guys would like it.
Yes.
And a digital copy I sent to the mayor. So,
Great, thank you.
awesome. Thank you. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input?
Thank you.
Let me get my glasses back. Has the board had a chance to look over the agenda?
Yes. Yes.
I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Next is a public hearing for the Bayfield Area Chamber of Commerce Block Party Special Event Liquor License.
So a member of the applicant is in the room. They have applied for two nonprofit special event liquor licenses, one on June 5th and one on August 7th.
Good evening, I'm Randy Burton with the Chamber, 1306 Juniper Street. Just here to answer any questions if you have any.
Does the board have any questions?
Pretty normal. It's like,
Yeah.
has been every other year.
Yeah.
Good.
No.
No questions.
Okay.
You're
thank
off
you
the
very
hook.
much.
Mayor, if I may, I had reviewed the packet, looked at the certificate of insurance that was initially issued. I didn't find it to be compliant. I believe Mr. Hayden then checked back with the applicant and then did get a compliant certificate of insurance naming the town of Bayfield as third party.
On their additionally insured, they put the street location in, not the entity. So I reached back out to their insurance carrier and had them send me a corrected version.
So we're all good now.
Yep.
I see that. Yep, thank you.
Does the public have any comment on the liquor license? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing then. Next up is the Bayfield Chamber of Commerce Block Party Liquor License Action Agenda.
Well, I think the Chamber of Commerce block parties are very important to our community. I think they bring a lot of business here, and so I'm definitely for that item to be approved.
Me too. I would say I am too.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I just was making the comments. So if anybody else want
yeah.
to say anything? Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Bayfield Chamber of Commerce block party June 5th and August 2nd, or 7th liquor license.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes.
Before we remove you, I did get a certified letter for this McCoy Gonzalez Taylor annexation. Does that make me removable, or should I recuse myself?
No, you
Or
can just
not-
place it on the record or hand it over to me, and I'll include it in the packet.
I'm just asking if it's a conflict of interest that I'm.
What's the letter? Was there money in the letter?
No, I just received, any kind of adjacent, there's no money yet.
Yeah.
But I
you
just
just
caught
give
on.
me
the next
I
envelope.
just caught on to that, but there's no money in this one. However, it is adjacent to my property, and I did receive a certification letter saying we're going to have a hearing on it.
So it's a typical notice letter?
Yes.
letting you know- No, that's not
Okay.
reason for recusal. But
Okay,
thank you very much
perfect.
for your
Sure.
disclosure.
Thanks.
Just waiting on Mr. Aw here. Okay, he's gone. How you guys doing?
No secrets out here.
Dan Murphy with SEH. I'm the town's planning consultant. I'm going to present to you just a brief description of the project tonight. So real quick before we jump in for members of the public, annexations and initial zonings follow the procedures set forth in section 3-15 of your code. Why I mentioned that at the beginning is this will be heard again by the trustees after a planning commission recommendation tonight. Reason being it's a line item for the public hearing only is that the trustees are ensuring it meets the statutory requirements for annexations before it could be heard by the planning commission. So there's really no formal action being taken tonight. Often in other places this would be referred to as the first reading of an annexation. So before you this evening is Derek and Larissa McCoy, Jesse and Diana Gonzalez, Lavinia and Vincent Paul Taylor. They're referred to as the ownership group in the packet. They are the applicants for this project this evening. Derek, who's in the room with us, has assumed the agent responsibilities for the project to lead the charge for all things included this evening. So the petition was submitted to the town for 6 contiguous parcels totaling approximately 17.37 acres, which is right to the east of us in central Bayfield. If you looked at the town's future land use map or zoning map, it's one of the last enclaves or in holdings, as we refer to them, within the town limits. The request proposes zoning the land as manufactured home park, or MHP, and high-density residential, HDR, in accordance with the town's land use code, all of which will be supported by available municipal water, sewer, and utilities. This infill annexation aligns with the town's goals to incorporate developable land already served by infrastructure and the proximity thereto, and supports housing diversity and affordability. The subject parcel does fall within the comprehensive plan's designated future growth boundary area. The application, as noted, does include concurrent requests for zoning in addition to a 4 lot line adjustment. This lot line adjustment for the 4 of the 6 parcels will take place after the annexation resolution is reviewed by the trustees. Currently, it's held in La Plata County jurisdiction, so they can't do a boundary adjustment until this occurs, unless they wanted to deal with the enjoyable county offices. So in accordance with Section 315C of the Land Use Code, they are seeking the concurrent review of annexation and zoning this evening. The process allows for the Board of Trustees to consider both components at the same time, following a preliminary determination that the annexation petition substantially complies with Colorado Revised Statute 3112-107-1A. In my review of the project, the proposed annexation does meet the statutory requirements unequivocally. Specifically, all 6 parcels exceed the required 1/6 contiguity of the town's boundary. The McCoy parcels in particular are 38% contiguous. The Gonzalez-owned parcels are 66%, and the Taylor parcels are approximately 52% contiguous. For bigger, longer range planning, there is a community interest that exists between the subject parcels and the town. The area is semi-urbanizing, as it relates to Bayfield urbanizing, which means there's growth occurring. This isn't New York. And it lies within the comprehensive plan growth boundary area, and it's directly adjacent to relatively high-density residential development. As mentioned, infrastructure does exist already in the surrounding area. That includes roads, water, sewer, and utility connections. All property owners have consented in writing to the annexation, and there are no competing annexation petitions from other municipalities that I'm aware of. The annexation does not impact school district boundaries, and it does not extend the town's limit by more than 3 miles. These are all requirements set forth in CRS 3112-105. Looking forward, once the project is reviewed by the Planning Commission and then again by the town trustees, a future project would follow the town's multi-review process to ensure compliance with infrastructure, zoning, and design standards. At this time, the applicant has not submitted a conceptual or sketch plan with the application, so we haven't initiated that yet. Lastly, noticing requirements have been met, which were identified also by a member of the trustee this evening. And my review of the project does confirm statutory compliance, and the proposal will next move on to the Planning Commission meeting before returning to the Board of Trustees. And we do recommend approval before you and the Planning Commission next Tuesday as well.
I see that there are ditches that run through these properties, and my understanding is that they're going to give over the rights to their piece of the ditches for that property. Is that correct?
I'll defer to Mr. McCoy to speak about ditch access and locations.
Great. Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
So I want to thank the board for hearing us tonight, and I want to thank Dan and staff for putting together a comprehensive report. I would like to answer all your questions here when I get done with my statement, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
I just want to reiterate what Dan said, that our application meets the statutory requirements for annexation. It's been a long time coming for that parcel. It was a tough decision for us to go ahead and do it. My family's owned that property for a very long time, and it wasn't taken lightly, that decision to come forward with this annexation petition. So we meet the statutory requirements. We conform to the comp plan. And I think those are the two most important things for you guys to consider tonight. I also want you to know that any future project on that property, if we're successful in getting annexed and zoned, will have to meet town code and town standards. Have to come back through the process, go through sketch, preliminary, and final plan, meet all the engineering requirements and all of those things. So really what we're hoping to do is create a viable choice or alternative in our housing market here. And that's why we've asked for the zoning that we've asked for. Please know that the two conditions that Dan just mentioned in his staff report are acceptable to the applicants as written. And we ask you guys to approve our application by voting for action A in Dan's report. So now, if you have any questions of us, we'll try to answer them.
Thank you. Again, in reading the report, my understanding is that you're going to convey the ditches, your ownership of the ditches, or do I not understand that right?
Typically what happens is when a property with irrigation rights gets annexed into the town will ask for a portion of those water rights or those irrigation rights to offset residential consumption. So we're agreeable to convey the necessary water rights. All three owners own water rights in what we call the lateral via the Schroeder ditch. And so all of us own water rights. We're willing to, in this process, when we negotiate the annexation agreement, convey the necessary water rights to the town.
I was just curious, and this may not be applicable to this annexation piece here, but it looks like there's parcels being created that are not adjacent to like a street, and that they would be more landlocked. What is the plan on those?
Well,
Like, because you have like 3 that are in one owner's name. I mean, I get it, you could make it all one
right.
contiguous thing, but I'm curious, is that kind of the plan?
So
or?
even prior to coming forward for annexation, all of the owners entered into a reciprocal easement agreement
Okay,
for all of our parcels to access
Okay.
existing points on Bayfield Parkway.
the plat map's so
South
small
Mesa.
you can't see it.
Right. I understand. So in a nutshell, even though it's not part of this process tonight,
Right,
we're going to be doing it with Dan's staff's help, the lot line adjustment, and it's going to allow us to do something with the eastern portions of the property, still own the parcels to the west and off the hillside down toward the Buck Highway, subject to those access and easement agreements. And any development that would take place there would have to ensure that the access flows back towards South Mesa and Bayfield Parkway. We've intentionally, we understand the challenges with the Buck Highway and the hillside,
right.
the slope and the water and all of those things. I grew up on the hillside above the Buck Highway. I grew up on this property, but anyway, we understand those challenges, so we've intentionally set this up so that all of those parcels would flow back to Bayfield Parkway primarily, and then also there's an access on the South Mesa there. So that's in writing, it's recorded, and it'll be part of any sketch plan that we bring forward.
Okay,
You'll
thank
see
you.
that.
Appreciate that.
And I think my understanding is there's 2 types of development pieces. There's going to be the manufactured home and then some other high-density
Well,
housing?
Right now, under the comp plan,
Yeah.
the property's designated high-density residential.
Mm-hmm.
There's no manufactured home park designation in the comp plan.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started these conversations with Nicole, she said that the designation of manufactured home park falls under high-density residential. So I went back and researched that, and I found 4 mobile home parks in Bayfield, or manufactured home parks in Bayfield, that were on the comp plan high-density residential. then once they were annexed and developed, they were recognized on the town zoning map as manufactured home park. So we believe that's a precedent there, and we think that's what Nicole was alluding to as far as the zoning goes. Yeah, so I could name those 4 off if you would want me to, but
No, I was just curious about, roughly about how many, I mean, in looking at this and anticipating this, how many mobile homes or manufactured homes you anticipate? Will the entire development be manufactured homes, or will there be a majority of manufactured homes with some like duplexes or apartments or?
well, we've, again, we feel like well, let me answer your question. There are parts of the property on your map that you see in the packet that we're asking for manufactured home zoning.
Yes.
Then there's parts of it that we're gonna go ahead and stick with high-density residential, namely the hillside above the Buck Highway. We're not gonna try to do anything different than what the comp plan says today.
Okay.
So, and we really do believe that manufactured home park falls under that
Yeah.
high-density residential
Yes. Yeah.
category.
And it's going to be a blend probably of both single and double wide?
You know, we don't really haven't got that far.
Yeah.
We gotta get the zoning first.
Sure.
And then we would have to come back with
I
a
just
conceptual idea.
yeah.
But we have done some, you know, some napkin type calculations and everything.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, like multifamilies, like 20 units per acre under the town, and then high-density residential and even manufactured home parks will be in a range from, 6 to 7 units per acre.
Okay.
So it'll be much less dense than a multifamily project. If that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great.
But we really haven't gone that far yet on the conceptual design yet. We just want to get annexed and zoned, and then we would take the next step and see if it makes sense. But please know that everything that we do will have to meet town standards, town
Yeah.
code.
Gotcha. And is that a spring that the water runs out of that hillside? Is that a natural spring? Or is that water that kind of comes from the ditch?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah. Do we know? We don't know? We have no idea.
I don't know if that really affects the conversation that we're having right now.
Well, no, I'm just wondering because I know that a lot of people up in the Mesa area have high water tables. And so I'm just curious about it. Yeah.
I couldn't answer that.
Yeah.
Well, the fact is that hillside's a little bit wet. Everybody knows that. That's
Yeah.
why we've intentionally stayed away from the hillside.
Yeah.
But everything up on top is not, and the irrigation ditches that are there, I'm in charge of the lateral B ditch, and so I
Yeah.
understand it. I've been doing it for 20 years. And so it's really gonna work well to use existing pathways for those ditches, even if the water rights are given up in some fashion or the property develops.
Got it.
Yeah, so we'll
Okay.
have to meet the ditch company's standards as well.
Gotcha. I also saw a recommendation, and I know this is all preliminary, and so I'm not holding you to it specifically, but I also saw that there was a reference to maybe adding a park within your development.
Yeah, if that's what comes out of our work with and negotiations with the planning commission and staff, we would consider that, depending on the size.
Sure. Yep.
And the functionality and those types of things. So we would have to
Gotcha.
obviously look at that with planning commission.
Sure. Okay.
You know, another thing that we looked at was the walkability, and so we're aware of the Fox Farm trail that goes off the hill and has that served that mesa there. And there might be something that would work if it makes sense to do something like that in our area to allow, traffic flow back, foot traffic back to
Yeah.
downtown.
I appreciate you looking ahead for that. I think that's very necessary, especially when you think about probably this is going to house a lot of young families with kids, so
Yeah, exactly.
safety for the kids.
Any other questions? Any questions? Go ahead.
9205 County Road 521. We're connected with the ditch too, that T's well aware of, and we're asking that it be piped, as we have in the past. Because as a town enroaches with more people, our ditches are becoming a mess and a hazard. And I imagine Derek already knows a lot of those problems. But we would ask that those ditches be piped through that property. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, please. Oh, and you have to state your name, address.
I'm Grace Sossaman. I live at 225 Pearl Street in the old Bay House. And I just want the town to be aware that I have filed on that water right that comes, what you're talking about, comes up down the hill. That was filed on quite some time ago for my, and so before you make any decisions having to do with that, I would appreciate it if you'd let me know.
Do you have documentation about that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I know. But I think it would be great to,
It's a matter of public record now, too.
okay, great. All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Hello, Eli Luke, 1848 Bayfield Parkway. I am back. It's been a while, but no, I just wanted to ask about, because we got the letters in the mail and everything, and I guess I'm just curious, do you anticipate a really big increase in population, like in that area, or I guess what I'm trying to say is it going to congest Bayfield Parkway and I guess not really maybe Buck Highway, but we live on that property right there. You know where we live, right there. So anyway, I'm just curious as to what do you anticipate as far as like population growth in that area, and then also traffic and congestion and stuff like that? Has that been, I guess, discussed? I know you're in the concept phase right now, but yeah. Thank you, Derek.
We really don't know about density or numbers or anything, but just like any other project that comes into the town or onto the town, there's connectivity that has to happen. So we waited a long time to get the 2 points of access in place so that it would help with that flow of traffic from any project that would happen on that property. So I can't really say how many cars per day or anything like that. I'm sure we'll have to look at that if and when we have a conceptual plan, and the planning commission will have to take a look at that as well.
Yeah, they generally require a traffic report when a new development is being done, so that will definitely be looked at.
It'll just come later.
Yeah, yep.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Let him back in.
I would just hang on 1 second. So the members of the trustees, I guess I would just be looking to confirm, based on your code's procedures, a finding of fact, based on what you've heard tonight, that it meets the statutory requirements in your code, that it could be heard by the planning commission.
So do we need to make a motion
Yes.
for that?
Oh,
Yeah, because
And there are 3 alternatives listed in your report, so
it wasn't
there is
listed.
action that's
Yeah.
needed.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve alternative action A. Approve the McCoy, Gonzalez, and Taylor annexation and initial zoning with the following findings and conditions, findings A through C and conditions A through B.
I will second that.
we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Katsas,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Hartz.
Yes.
Thank you. That's okay. I'm glad.
But I knew I had it open, so.
Yeah, okay. I hadn't even gotten down to that part yet.
And I asked that, because that's what I was asking. Because I knew this was good, but I thought maybe it's next time.
Yeah, that was my understanding of the way that Dan presented it.
Give me a second.
Justin, next time on something like that, can you put an action item line down the line?
Okay, next up, approval of minutes and department reports.
I just had a couple of things on the minutes, and they're more administrative. I heard a crash. Let's see, on agenda item 2B, Town Manager Report, it doesn't really refer what he's referring to. So I think if you could put in there as to what Scott was speaking about, because there's no reference to that, so if somebody's looking through the minutes, they wouldn't catch that. And then the other thing is, I misstated. I thought the Region 9 meeting was on April 29th, and it was actually the 24th. So that was my fault, but just administrative thing.
And which meeting was that?
That was the Region 9
Okay.
quarterly meeting.
I may not have said anything important, you know, so.
No, you were talking about something important, but there's no references to
I know,
what
I'm
you were
just kidding.
speaking of, so.
Must have been because it's action minutes. There's been some action.
Any other comments on the minutes for April 15th of 2025?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes
As amended.
with changes. Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katsas?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Approval of the minutes for the special meeting, April 22nd, 2025. Does the board have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting dated April 22nd, 2025.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katsas?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Town manager report.
Okay. The, is that on? Yeah, finally. The, several issues and just viewpoints of mine, I guess, more than anything else. But the first issue, I just wanted to let everybody know it's more of a public information issue, and that's that the Board of Trustees did not select the candidates that applied and interviewed for the town manager position. And so staff has gone back out for advertising and to try to do a quick turnaround on that, and things so far are looking good with that. So I just want to let everybody know and the public know that that's the current position that we have.
Scott, I would note that the April 22nd minutes that were just approved also notes that the board directed the HR director to repost the town manager position at that time.
Good, good.
Not selected one of the two finalists.
Okay, we want to make sure that everybody was clear on that point. This one will take a couple minutes, but I wanted to start out by saying that I don't take the position that building houses is really economic development, okay? And I'll explain. First of all, I hear people, government administrators, who say, well, we'll get more property tax. Well, I guess so, but your costs go up. And government is not supposed to be a for-profit thing, so it's just supposed to match it. It really doesn't change the equation. It's not supposed to anyway. On sales tax, yeah, you do export sales tax to
Durango, and someday you'll have a Walmart, you'll have more businesses, and then you'll retain more of that tax. But I don't see that as a pure economic development concept. And maybe to make it more, a simple example, I thought about telling you my story of my son's lemonade stand, but that may be a little bit too strange. But I want to put it in a position like this. When the settlers first came here, and even the Native Americans had this thought in mind, they didn't go to an area and go, oh, there's room over there for a house, I'm going to build a house. What the person came to the area, came to Bayfield, and he looked around and he said, oh, they got some good water over there, you know, and that soil must be good. They got some good grass here, and elk, deer, turkey, everything come down through here. There's food to be had. And I hear there's a coal seam, you know, about 5 miles north of here or whatever. And that person said, you know, I think I can make a go of it. I can raise some crops. I can raise some cattle. I can generate some income for myself and for this area. Okay. And the same thing with really the Native Americans. They move more seasonally, but they're looking for they're looking for things to sustain them and to get ahead. Not necessarily that there's a place to build or put up a homestead. So I just bring that up is that you need to, in my opinion, keep the focus of economic development on generating economic development for citizens, not necessarily taxing people and that kind of thing. You want to try to produce economic development, which I think is more like, you know, you have a company come in and they want to run something, and you brought up stuff about, you know, having small businesses start in this area, and I've given this example to some of you that there are many examples in our area that show that things can happen like this. I used to go to Dove Creek, and after hunting, I'd get a big 50-pound bag of beans, right, and I'd take it home. Went to the grain elevator. Well, now then Adobe Milling starts up, and they're just repackaging this stuff, and they're all over the state of Colorado. I mean, you can find Adobe Milling. You've got the Osprey Packs, which started in Dolores. I think they're in Cortez now. I was in Europe this fall, and I saw a very refined gentleman and lady who he had an Osprey Pack. I went, my gosh, I'm from Colorado, and on and on and on. That, you know, they made a real go of it. And I know shipping, transportation can be a problem, but there are numerous examples where, you know, Palisade Peaches and the Hatch's Chilies, and they all have their regional things. So I see something like that can happen in Bayfield if you want to find those kind of cottage industries, and you may sniff at them or make fun of them, but they really they can turn into something great. And I'll expand it a little bit further. Up in Cordova, Alaska, okay, they came across, you know, this one lady who's a friend of mine, who's lived in the house of my best friend up there, and she started putting coats together, Copper River Fleece, she called it, and they had a little, you know, trim, et cetera, around the whole thing. And when you're watching those crab shows, the captains are all wearing the Copper River Fleece, and the airline pilots on Alaska Airlines, and Lisa Murkowski, and, you know, I mean, it just from this little thing she started in the basement, she's got this mega business, and I can't imagine what kind of house she's in now, but she's done extremely well. Another gal out there, she comes rafting down the Copper River, and, you know, there's all kind of this real fine mineralized silt from the glaciers, Child's Glacier. And she comes up with the idea, call it glacial facial. She does mud packs, and she's selling mud. You wouldn't think you're going to do this, but she sold mud, and she's making a business out of it. It's economic development. So anyway, housing's great. All those things, those support mechanisms we put out there are great, but I don't think you should confuse it with real economic development, and put some of your efforts, or put most of your efforts in that, if you ask me. And these other things are going to come along anyway. You're going to have to fill out housing, and you're going to have growth. You're going to have Tractor Supply and places going. And so anyway, that's my little editorial for the night on that. So, okay. And then one thing that'll assure my hastily departure from here is to bring up this issue. I think it goes without saying, you shouldn't have dogs doing their business in the ballpark. But people are letting dogs go because it's a fenced-in area. And I guess according to Mark, they were doing it when they're either working on the fields trying to get them ready, or people actually having games. But it's not conducive. And if you want to have a dog run, you need to then this fall, budget for some, chain link fence and just put up an area where they can release the dog, because it's just, certainly this time of year is not a healthy or good situation. And so, to me, I think the dog shouldn't be in the park, in that enclosed area. So, anyway, and I mentioned it the last time, but I'll mention it again. We have a new community development director, Stephen. Top-notch guy. We're really all getting along, and glad he's here. So that's really enhanced your resources at this point, and I think we're going to keep going up and solving problems. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
I would just like to say that I really, when I got on the board and everything, I agree with what Scott's saying about development, urban development or houses. And I've said this pretty much all along since I've been on the board. I would love to see us as Bayfield develop some more different kinds of industries, cottage industries. We've tried to get a wool mill for a long time. There are other things that we could do besides what I see happening with the housing. Is we're going to build more housing, and that's great, but then it's just still going to be just a bedroom community for Durango, because it's so much cheaper than Durango to come out here. I like the idea of trying to keep Bayfield more agricultural, more rural, less development, and make it better for the people that are already here and the families that are here. And I'm not no development, but bring some more out, and they can work in some different industries. I just like that approach, and I don't think that's the most popular outlook, but that is the way I feel about it.
I think it's really important that people go and research what's happening in rural areas in the United States, to see that what's happening is they're dying, that the children are leaving those rural communities because they don't have housing, and they don't have jobs, and they don't have childcare, and they don't have all those kind of things. So to me, I don't want to live in a city. If I did, I wouldn't live here. That's just straight talk. But there has to be smart growth. Smart growth to me right now, because of our housing prices and the costs to get a house. In order for our children to stay in the area, we have to make it affordable somehow, and it's not right now. So I get that we don't want to make it big, and I'll be quite honest, I'm not interested in large properties that are fancy and meant for your upper class people. I'm all about finding housing and making housing happen for our kids, our young families, and making sure that they can stay in this community. To me, that's more smart growth, but I don't want big building and stuff like that. I don't want to like, I don't want to be a city. I don't even want to be Durango. But I think it's really important that we think of it from that aspect. I get what you're saying about economy and economics being a little bit different, but it does play into it, because job stability comes from housing stability. And you can't have job stability if you don't have housing stability. And if you look at all the statistics of what's going on in La Plata County, Archuleta County, and Montezuma County, you'll know that we have a housing issue, like all across the board. There are people having to live in multiple, like, these kids are, growing up and trying to move out of mom and dad's house, and they're bunking up with 6, 7 other people and living on couches and stuff like that. It makes it really hard. And yeah, it is nationwide. Yeah. But so we have to do something in our community to support it. So I get what you're saying. It's not all economics, but it does play a big part in how our community is and whether or not what we want for our community.
I'm not saying not do housing. I'm just saying housing is an outflow from economic development.
Yeah.
That's the result. Those are things you have to handle from it. So.
I
Well-
think we need both.
Yeah.
I want businesses here too,
Yeah.
and I think that's starting to happen. We've got two brand new, businesses that have opened up their, actually three now, because we have actually a little boutique that just opened up, which I think is pretty cool, because I like to shop. But I definitely think that they're all encompassing, and you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. Well, and also, to Trustee McLaurin's point, I think a community that says we support cottage industries, I think we should be a community that makes statements about that we want to see entrepreneurship, we want to support new ideas, especially in the ag realm, that we're for that. We want to keep that culture alive here. But it has to come from individuals. And I do know that Region 9 and the Economic Alliance, there's these enterprise zones. And if communities don't take advantage of the enterprise zones, which brings a lot of kickbacks in all kinds of money for people that want to start businesses, if you don't utilize your enterprise zone when it gets redistricted, you get kicked out of the enterprise zone. And so I think, our job would be to provide resources and information that supports cottage industries. We're not here to be business drivers. We are here to support any new business that wants to come in and present themselves and try to grease the skids for them, make it easier for them. And then along with that, we better have housing to support them or they won't do it anyways. So I'm all for that, and I stand behind that. And I agree with you, Scott. But again, that has to come from that person going down the Campbell River in a canoe and goes, oh, hey, there's some mud that would be a great facial thing. I mean, that comes from an entrepreneur. So, we just have to let the citizens know that we support that and we want to see more of that. And any way that we can do that, I'm behind that. So that's my comment to your comment. Sure.
I agree with you as far as housing, but we should have quality housing, not just junk that's going on out there. We should have, if you're going to pay over $300,000 for junk and not infrastructure that's not built correctly, and the roads are not done in, the wastewater is still going, and they're still building on it. They came in here and asked for some of their money back for the water and the sewer taps. You know what? If you don't have the money, don't go out there and do stuff. And on top of this, these houses that are going in are not done correctly. I know people that have bought some of these new houses, the windows leak, and some of them are settling where their houses are cracked and the insurance don't cover it. Build all you want to, but if it's not quality homes and you're selling it, where are these people going to work? Where do you work? Everybody has to race to Durango or Pagosa now to try to find a job. We have nothing here. And it's always been that way here in Bayfield, but people took care of everybody. Not now. Now it's not. It's all mine. It's not yours or mine to share. And I really think that instead of just keep approving and approving, you guys need to look at the bigger picture. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm Bucky Ransford. I live at 612 Louisiana Drive. And you guys have talked a lot tonight about affordable housing for young people. And I bought my house on Louisiana when I was 20 years old. And I was making $16 an hour. I was a single guy, and that wasn't a lot of money. And I did not have, that wasn't affordable. It was just a regular house. And I think the issue that everybody's running into is we want to make an excuse for affordable housing, or cost of living is too much. And I think the real issue is nobody wants to go to work and try hard and be successful. And I had roommates. I begged and borrowed and stole from Paul and Peter and anybody else that I could get a hold of to make things work. But I did it, and I'm still there. So I think you guys need to consider definitely development and growth, but it doesn't all need to just be for affordable. You know, people need to help themselves first, and then, you know, you can help them. So that's my thought. The other thought that I have is I think that we need to really look at, your question to Derek right away was, are we gonna have water? Well, yes, but you are taking that water then from farming. So we have the ability to put people in houses and give them drinkable water, but we lose our way to feed those people. So I would suggest to the board to maybe look at some alternate ideas for your water instead of just pulling it from the irrigation ditches. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. I think the reality is that affordable housing has somewhat slipped away. If you look at the cost of building right now, Trustee Moreland is in banking. What does it run? $300 to $400 a square foot to build. If you want to get fancy, maybe a little more than that. Lots are $100,000 in Bayfield now or more. So at a 1,500 square foot house in Bayfield is $100,000 for land and $450,000 to $550,000 to build it. So you're at $700,000 to build a house in Bayfield.
Yep.
Is that affordable?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't know. Maybe for some people they can pull that off, but I think most of those people will go to Durango to work because they have a higher paying job to feed their family and do all that. So I think the reality is, I don't know what the answer is. It's complicated, but that's the state we're in currently. But we're still going to get the spin-off from Durango because it's $500 a square foot to build in Durango, plus the cost of the land. So the $700,000 house in Bayfield is $950 in Durango. So we are always going to be a transient area because of the cost. How you bring that down, I don't know. Commons are pushing 400 now. So I don't know, but I think that's the reality of where we're at, is what things really do truly cost.
Yes.
So, good luck with that.
So just for some information, in La Plata County, the area median housing price is $800,000. Yes. So when you look at a project like Pine River Commons, and yes, when you bought your home, it was a lot less expensive. When I bought my home, it was a lot less expensive. Right. So it was a lot less expensive. It unfortunately, this price right now is hitting about 100% to 120% area median income. That actual pricing is where the gap is from organizations that do like Habitat for Humanity. They hit the real low income, but then you have this gap between, you know, your more established, wealthier individuals
And quote unquote affordable.
and the affordable housing. It's this humongous gap. And while everybody, I get it, like that seems like a huge amount. What goes into it is amazing, because we've gotten grants from, you know, the government, and then we get philanthropic funds. Then we work with organizations like banks that have our CDFIs, and then you work with organizations like Homes Fund, which helps subsidize like down payment assistance and lowers their monthly costs to make it an affordable home. It's not an easy thing to do. It's like really, really difficult to put a project like that together. And while I get that it's not the most beautiful, or you're not getting these upgrades and, you know, in the home, it's what can be done.
And you know, to your point, Lucy, building a home correctly by our building codes, and requirements, they're supposed to do that.
Yes.
I mean, and we have a building inspector that goes out there.
And he won't get on a roof because he doesn't get paid enough
Well,
to do an inspection there.
I understand. But we do have systems in place that, we're trying to meet those issues. And the people that bought those homes should take that up for sure. But I feel that striking a balance that's realistic. I mean, what do you need for a down payment for an $800,000 home at a 7.5% interest rate? That's just not affordable. Even if you're working your tail off, it's a big reach. So again, I'm all for entrepreneurship, and I also want us to have a healthy community, and I want to meet the needs of our community to the best of my ability as a leader. It's important to me that our young families and even our elders have homes to live in. It matters, so.
We probably should get moving on.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going there. Parks and Rec, Parks, yeah.
Parks and Trails.
I know, keep going to Parks and Rec. Parks and Trails Director's Report.
Good evening, Board, Mayor. Just to follow up with Scott's statement and to give you guys a little background on the dog problem. So we were utilizing the ball fields for a dog park and for sports before my arrival. I never did agree with it because I feel like it's a public health issue as well. There are some good people that do keep up after their dogs, and I kind of know who does and who doesn't. And there's some people that really do utilize that and want that. But I have to agree with Scott that it's not good for our kids to be playing in that. So I don't know, maybe next meeting you guys mull it over unless you have a general consensus tonight of what direction we would want to go with that.
Do you have signs up, Mark,
We
that
do
says
not.
do not allow your dogs?
Well, that's the direction I would go.
Okay.
If that's the direction and the consensus that you all have, we will put up signs, and then if we do have that, then we'll be calling Mr. Chief here. But I just kind of wanted that direction to know how you would like me to handle that.
I agree. I agree it's a public issue.
I think it's a public issue, and but it's also, putting up sounds isn't going to help, because surely everybody knows
Well, when you,
you're
No.
not supposed to do that.
So, but when
No,
you
if you
put
put
up-
a statute and you say you could get a ticket or something,
well, when you put the signs up, then you can do something about it. If you don't have the signs up, they'll be like, well, how was I supposed to know? So
well,
it's a
everybody
progressive,
kno-
it's a
okay.
progressive thing.
Maybe we should find out what our
Everybody knows
code
you're supposed
says.
to pick up after you.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe we should find out what our code says.
I mean, we have leash laws and we do have on the sign to pick up after your dog, but I personally don't have the time to police people and their dog waste. So I think putting up the signs, and then just being vigilant, and if people are still taking their dogs in there, then we'll let law enforcement. I don't know if it'd be a trespassing situation, but I would leave that up to him.
One more question, Mark.
Yeah.
Would that, if we had a code enforcer, would that code enforcer be the person we would call that say you got to get out there
We
and?
don't have the money for that.
It just depends if it's in our code. I really haven't
Okay,
researched that, but
okay.
I definitely can do that. But yeah, that's a possibility as well.
Okay.
And it's something we can do. I mean, we can just be, give them a kind, warning like, hey, we're not allowing dogs anymore, and a reason, and see how that goes. But if they don't like that, then we'll let law enforcement handle it. Anyways, for Parks and Trails, month of April, things are coming alive in the parks. We're very busy. There's a lot of people with the nice weather, except for these last few days. So we've been cruising, normal operations. All of our sports fields and parks have been aerated. We're following that new program. One thing that I am having Joe do is keep track of his hours and his time of what he's doing there, so we can have an accurate cost for what that's taking to do that. So budget season, we can go over fees and stuff with recreation. Irrigation was turned on a couple weeks ago. We actually turned it off today because of all the rain. Didn't want any flooding, so but we'll be firing that back up. Normal stuff, few broken heads, lines, some of those that were hit with the aerator, even though Joe tries not to hit them. But nothing major, so that was great. Everything's working pretty well. Okay, I'll look at that. The bean ditch was turned on. I did talk to Mr. Ludwig about that. They just turned it on recently, so we'll be switching over to ditch water from municipal water and correlating that with Mr. Ludwig so he can allot us the correct amount of water. But we probably won't be doing that for another week with all the saturation of the rain. SGM has completed their wetland delineation map, site plan for the Little Pine vault toilet project. They've done a really good job. They've coordinated with La Plata County Health Department and the vendor. We do have to adjust the location of the vault toilet by about 50 feet. We were trying to put it on the very east end of the park, but we're just going to move it over 50 feet into that center island as you enter the park. So not a big change, but we have to be within a certain amount of footage from any wetland area or drainage ditch or creek. So to get the permit, we have to follow those guidelines. So that was good. I did get the final plans for the park shop office expansion from BNC Engineering and the architect. That's been submitted to building department. They've reviewed it. We're going to do a few changes on that. We still just have the one contractor that's looking at it, so just trying to get consensus from the building department and make sure that he can give us a good estimate before moving forward. And it looks like we're only going to have one estimate so far from him. With the engineering costs and architectural stuff that I really didn't plan for, we will be over budget on that project. So once I have the complete cost, I'll bring that back to you guys' attention and see how you would like to move forward with that. We did complete our fence project with the Pine River Rodeo and our property. That was a pretty easy project for us. Overall, I think the public understands the reasoning behind what we did. I think Chief and I both agree that it's working out well with the problem that we had. It's kind of moved it over to the open lot in front of the senior center where we can be more vigilant, we can get video, and it's easier for us to enforce. And it's mitigated the problem, you know, at least by half, because now they're not back in the trees doing whatever they want. So we did have a few complaints. Most of those was from minors that were, you know, they're right.
Too bad.
They're a little displeased, but I don't like to be the bad guy, but you know, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. So, but yeah, that's done. Yeah, our compost bin was completed. That worked out well. We got it all installed and stocked. I think it's going to save the town a lot of money. From my calculations for the amount of material that we have in there versus what we would be paying, you know, at Durango Nursery, we should have about $20,000 worth of topsoil in there. So
Good job.
doing the, you know, the block work and building it and putting all the material in there for 17 and having that amount of money worth of soil, I think it's going to be great. So that'll help us a lot, getting these fields and the parks a lot greener. Couple more issues with the Chevy Colorado. Blower motor went out, was repaired. This truck is starting to kind of nickel and dime us a little bit, so that may be something I look at next year as far as a replacement and maybe selling that vehicle. It is still low mileage, still a decent truck, but it just, things continuously keep going wrong with it. So Scott and I met with Mary and Kat from the park committee. Mary presented a very a lot of information of stuff that, you know, she went out in the field and researched, and so just a broad packet of stuff for the park. So we've reviewed that, and we've all been discussing that and kind of, trying to figure out how we're going to move forward. So that's in the works. Other than that, that's all I got, unless you guys got any questions for me.
I had a quick question on our trees. How are all the trees that were planted last year doing?
I've been keeping an eye on them. Most of them have bloomed out. There's some that haven't. I really haven't had time to go and look at those trees and see what type they are and see. Some of them are late, all the cottonwoods I know have bloomed out. We were actually going to go water, with a tank before we got irrigation and then all this rain, but hopefully that will help. But I'll follow up with you on that and let you know if we lost any. I hope not.
I hope not. I've noticed some of them haven't come, but it might just be the
Right.
species.
It might be the species, yeah.
The oak or whatever.
I've
'cause
noticed that.
I check them out all
Yeah.
the time.
If they do, we'll replace them though. We did lose the one to the tree that fell over, but I feel like we're just going to leave that one, and kind of give a little more room for the people that wanted that open space.
Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead. We currently do have a city ordinance on nuisance animals, which would apply to the parks. That's section 3-25 to enforce the laws on dogs defecating or soiling the grounds. All we got to do is make sure we put up signs and show the code. And I know we upgraded all the fees last year under one of the ordinances, so I have to research that to see what the actual cost of the fine is, and then they'll go through city court.
Oh, good.
I'm pretty sure all of our signs have that CRS code on there for the
Yeah.
dogs, so I'll make sure that that's there.
Yeah, more specifically, you have in your code a littering statute, which is under section 9-27. So I'm not sure that the animal nuisance statute actually applies, but littering could also be something, because it actually defines litter as being waste material.
Well, there would also be dog at large.
So maybe the sign says, "Do not allow your dog to litter here."
Yeah.
So there's tools and mechanisms.
Okay, great. I think that's good.
Moving on to the financial action agenda. April 2025 expenditures.
If it's closed. If it's gated.
Has the board had a chance to look those over?
Yep. I do have a few questions, and I apologize, Kathy, because I wanted to send you, I'd like to send you questions in advance so you can, if there's anything big where you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think you'll have answers to this.
Okay.
The cash allocation, the allocation to Housing Development Fund,
Uh-huh.
what is that? I mean, is that part of our Cinnamon Heights deal, or can you tell me what that is?
The Housing Development Fund
Yeah.
is Cinnamon Heights.
It is, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I figured, but I just
Yes.
want to get clarification.
Yes.
Also, and maybe this is, I'll wait and I'll ask Dustin that. Miscellaneous revenue, what's going on there? That looks pretty nice. What goes into miscellaneous
Is it in
revenue?
the general fund?
Yes, ma'am.
That is where the insurance, the check from the insurance
Ah.
company goes into.
Okay.
It has to go into a revenue account. It can't go back into the expenditure account. So
Gotcha.
that's the.
Probably what that
That's
is.
the revenue account that we're using right now.
Got it. Okay. And then where is the cost for our interim town manager, his expenses? Where would I find that? Is that in administration?
It's in the general fund under other consulting.
Ah, okay, great, wonderful. Then this one is maybe better for Dustin. I was looking at our charges for services. Boy, what could we do if we had a rec building?
Yeah,
It looks good.
Yeah, and we've actually had some losses there. I don't think it's in this month's statement. It's going to go down a little bit because we had to refund that 5K.
Okay.
So that'll hit next month, or, because you're in the arrears.
Sure.
But yeah, there is a lot of potential there.
Wow.
Softball is huge.
Yeah.
And we've even kind of incentivized that for the champions of the tournament. We're waiving half of their fee for the next year to kind of just keep the teams coming back, because a lot of them are from out of town too. Get a lot of
Wow.
teams from Ignacio as well.
I'm seeing a missed opportunity here. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
you said, you guys get me a new gym, I will fill it up.
Okay. I like that. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, talk to those citizens that would have to pay for a tax.
Any other questions? Looking for a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the April 2025 expenditures.
And I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
And
Mayor Ah?
She was choking.
Yes.
Okay, we'll catch her in a minute.
No, not like,
literally.
not like,
Yeah.
she was gonna die choking, she was coughing. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, let me clarify.
I know. I was like, do we need to perform the Heimlich?
Yeah, I think we can
Move on.
note that she's absent for this, if in fact there's not going to be a
A moment. Okay.
problem with the.
I mean, it was 5, whatever at this point.
Yeah.
Moving on to the March 2025 financial statement.
Sure. Okay, so the financial statements that are in your packet tonight are through the end of the month of March, which marked the end of the first quarter of 2025. In the general fund, we've received county and city sales tax for the month of January. So you'll just now see what you received in January and February was for the last 2 months of 2024. So March will be the first of 2025. We've also received HUTF dollars for the month of February, another payment of property taxes, and our monthly deposits of oil and gas royalties, cigarette tax, and monthly and motor vehicle taxes. We've also received some revenue this month for building permits, development fees, and we still have some business licenses trickling in the first quarter. Youth athletic programs and facility use rentals are both above anticipated revenue at this point, and the general fund is currently $37,227.63 revenues over expenditures. The building maintenance line item in this fund is over, but that's due to the flood. And so that money that you see in the miscellaneous revenue will balance out that overage in that.
Let her in.
Uh-oh. On-call and vehicle maintenance is a little high at this point. It's not over, but it's a little high in the police department. But the vehicle maintenance, I'm sure it'll work. Yeah, it'll level out. Conservation Trust, we have received our first quarterly payment of lottery funds, which was $8,705. In the sewer fund, sewer and I&I fees are trending as expected, and we collected $37,100 in plant investment fees from new construction permits for this fund. And that fund is currently $101,000 revenue over expenditures as well. The building maintenance line item in that fund is also high, but that's due to the lift station that was damaged by the traffic accident, and that expense, you'll see the income is in the miscellaneous revenue in that fund as well, so that will balance that out. The program line item in that fund is over already, but that's because that's where you will see the expense for the sludge removal. That's where that comes from. Stormwater fees are trending as expected, and that fund is also revenue over expenditures. In the capital improvement fund, there was a transfer of $34,084.11 to the general fund. That expense was for police department pistol and rifle lights, engineering costs for the park shop expansion, and the down payment on the composting toilet for Little Pine Park. The water fund, water sales are trending well. Penalties and interest on delinquent accounts is high. That's just due to unpaid utility bills. We did collect $44,750 in plant investment fees from new construction permits in this fund as well. And it's revenue over expenditures as well. Garbage fees are trending as expected. And the street fund is revenue over expenditures and operating within budget. The total interest this month, in the month of March, from Cala Trust was $34,391. And I have, the leadership team has a copy of the quarterly financials, and so I'm gonna meet with each department head on the leadership team and go over what they've spent in the first quarter and make sure that there's no adjustments that need to be made, that something wasn't accidentally coded to the wrong line item. If it has been, we can make a journal entry to fix that in a timely fashion. Other than that, that's it. Sales tax is moving the way, in a
Yeah.
positive manner.
I just
Going
had
well.
a quick question. I know we talked about budget supplementals that we were gonna have to make some adjustments.
Mhm.
How's that going? Is that, when's that expected to, because I know some things have to come in, go
We
out.
probably
or-
won't look at a budget supplement until, depending on how long Manager Hahn stays.
Okay.
Or when we get a new town manager, we'll look. It doesn't have to be done at any specific time.
Okay.
So, even if we don't do one till,
Like the
you
last
know,
second, yeah.
last second, we'll be
Okay.
fine.
Okay, I was
Okay?
curious how that was panning out.
I have to say, I've
Thank you.
reviewed those quarterly reports, and I think you're tracking well, given a few little glitches, little flood glitches. and
Little
things.
flood
But
glitches.
I think you're tracking real well, and I don't really have a major concern that somehow we're out of kilter too much. And just like you said, we've got the flexibility to get into a budget amendment sometime later on. It's mainly you just want to kind of do it for you. So you don't have too many things you have to address for, so.
Right.
But
You
in the
want to
next
do
couple months, we
multiple
might
times.
do it, I don't know, so, but we're okay.
Do you need a motion to accept the financials?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the March 2025 financial statement.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katsas.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Sales tax?
She kind of
Yeah.
already went over.
I mean, we kind of,
Yeah,
Going well.
Trending up.
There's your evidence.
trending up.
Trending up. We're
Testimony.
doing good.
Not to change with all the tariffs, but.
Sludge bin waste removal.
That's you.
Yeah, good evening, trustees, Mr. Mayor. This was brought before you at the April 6th meeting. It did get passed by the second meeting of April, and we're bringing it back to you today. You know, we switched sludge haulers, waste management, which we have representatives in the audience here today, has been our sludge removal on the 6th meeting. It was decided to send a formal notice of termination of that contract. We did send that. Since then, they're still performing the duties under the original agreement. And if you see in the memo that I sent over, they've made every effort to cure the services that was referenced in the notice of termination. So we're looking for a little bit of clarification if you want to continue with termination of the agreement for waste management, or, in my opinion, I think they've made every effort to cure the service, and we're no longer concerned with the hauling services as agreed to. I could answer any questions that you guys might have in association with it.
So to be clear, Mayor, if I may, for the board's clarification, the notice was sent out for purposes of specific breaches that were noted in the notice. And it's my understanding from Mr. Schultz's statement today that every effort has been made to cure those breaches, and that has been done. If the board wants to continue in the contract because those cures have been made, my suggestion is that a letter go out, much like the letter notifying them of the breaches and the termination, that says specifically that we're willing to continue under the terms of the contract pursuant to the fact that the breaches that we noted have all been cured to our satisfaction.
Yeah.
So I have a question that would probably be better said in an executive session from legal counsel. I have a question to ask.
We'll need to do that at another noticed meeting.
Yeah.
Because we won't be able to do that today. So you may, as a result, that may result in tabling this decision for, until the next meeting.
Yeah, and one thing I'd also like to point out as well too, that's in the memo, the rest of the April hauls for the wastewater treatment facility were at no charge. So keep in mind, that doesn't mean that they were free. There's a biosolids charge that's associated with the hauling of all that sludge. So those fees from the landfill are a constant. We'll accrue those no matter who hauls it, if we haul it, if Trash Band hauls it, or Waste Management hauls it. But they did, in an effort to cure the contract and gain confidence back in the agreement that was signed, they provided free hauling. Gosh, I have the dates here somewhere. The rest of the month of April, April 16th, April 23rd, and April 30th, at no charge as well. So.
Are those, I'm going to call them dump fees, but are they a flat rate, or is it based on tonnage, or?
It's per ton.
It is per ton?
Yeah.
Okay, and are we pretty consistent with?
Yep. We try and send 12 tons out
Okay.
once a week.
Okay.
So that's it. No more than 12 tons.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we should see a consistent cost?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. And we have 3 months of the biosolids charge, but that's a charge that's not necessarily affected by this agreement. The agreement that we have for the hauling charge is for the dumpster fee and the transport and disposal of those fees. There's an additional dump fee that's charged by the landfill to accept that, because it has to have a special waste manifest that's associated with it as well.
Gotcha.
So that's a separate, that's separate from the hauling agreement that we have. So just for clarification, that landfill fee, any service provider would have no control over that charge that's being added for the biosolids that's hauled to the landfill.
So I would say that, how do I want to say this? When you sign a contract with a company, and they set their standards, and we have our expectations, and they meet those or they don't meet those, we should go into a contract expecting the service to meet the expectations. So my concern is that, you know, they were put on notice and they've done their best to rectify that. Should that service deteriorate again, is this a one-time? I just want to make sure that we're covered moving forward should that service deteriorate.
I think quite right that you are entitled to the benefit of what you bargained for. So to the extent things have been made right and the board decides to, that's satisfactory to this board to move forward, we're still entitled to receive the benefits of all the bargain, all you've bargained for going forward. So to the extent there are breaches that arise again, that would be the cause of another notice.
Okay.
So I guess I would ask, how did they rectify cleaning up the sludge that they spilled?
There's been no more spilled sludge since the April 6th meeting and the decision to send a notice of termination.
And so before that, how was it cleaned up?
I think, well, I could ask the district manager here, but by providing the free hauls at no hauling charge, surcharge, or fuel fees for the rest of April would be a monetary benefit that the town did receive. I mean, in that aspect, but.
Are the prices for the sludge at the landfill going up also to receive
I couldn't
it?
answer that. We'd
Yeah.
have to talk to the landfill, Republic Services, the owner of the landfill. I don't know that.
I would like to have the executive session to answer trustee Moreland's questions. So I think if we could put this off,
Okay.
table it, yeah.
And, yeah, and in the meantime, we're just going to continue operating under the original agreement.
Okay.
As stated.
Yep.
There isn't, a termination end date, and we don't want to suspend services.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Do you guys agree? Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, we're going to need a motion for that. To
Mr.
even table it.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table the decision on the sludge bin waste removal so that we can have an executive session and ask some questions from our Attorney Goldman, some legal questions.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I would just like to say that I would thank you guys for stepping up to the plate and trying to come up with a good solution and trying to rectify the problems that we were having.
Just have some questions. We gotta.
Yeah, I'm not sure what all the questions are, but we'll get that figured out and we'll talk about it at our next meeting. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Public Works purchase for request pump.
So this is the pump that actually transports the sludge across the gravity belt and the belt press. That's what we use to fill the bin up that those guys are hauling. So we did put a replacement in, about a month ago. I don't remember the exact date, and so we would like to purchase a spare. Being that the expenditure is over the $10,000 limit, we wanted to bring this to you for your approval. And there is funds available in the building maintenance portion.
He saw me grab my
Yeah.
microphone.
That's over budget, but the insurance money came back into it. So,
Just checking.
Is there any other questions?
I don't have any.
Pleasure of the board.
It's like I'm going to beat you to it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Public Works purchase request pump for $11,846.29 with Falcon Environmental.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Crack seal bids.
Geothermal grant.
Oh, I
Number
just
C.
ticked it off too. Geothermal grant, excuse me.
Okay, as you probably know, the state last year put more effort into energy efficiency and gave out grants. We applied for a grant and got $1 million towards a $2.7 million project. McKinstry is kind of like the select engineer that the state puts out there. I think that's how they got the job. And they've come and presented information and updates on the direction they're going. Part of that is the geothermal, but I have to show the bigger picture here. At a certain point, I think the council and trustees didn't feel comfortable just yet on this project, and so we took the position that we'd probably delay any decision on this until the middle of the summer. I've had communication with DOLA, Patrick, and they're fine with that. They said maybe this fall it'd be good to know, because if you weren't going to go forward this fall, then maybe they deobligate those grant funds. So along comes the geothermal grant. January 3rd, the town approved McKinstry to apply for a geothermal grant of $51,000. The geothermal project portion of the 2.7 million is 1.4 million. Okay, and the town received an approved grant of $51,000 towards that. I made notification to Bryce, who's head of the Colorado Energy Office, that we're kind of holding off till the middle of the summer to decide the ultimate decision on the whole project. And I didn't get any response back from me, but he seemed fine with it. And then they went forward and hired what's the name of that group? Hired Otero Francis with a company called Clear Results to put together a contract, get it to the grant recipients for our review and approval. And I sent it to Michael, but I didn't ask him to do any kind of full review, because I don't know if it's a waste of money to do that, because I personally think this isn't something you go forward with. But we are kind of on limited time, because then they said, oh, and by the way, we really need to have all your responses back by May 7th, which is tomorrow. So I've had a week to kind of think about that. The most disconcerting part is, it's in your documentation, an email from, I got the gal's name with McKinstry right now, Audrey? Anyway, she said, but quite clearly, that if you commit to this, it commits you to the entire project. So that it's not just a geothermal thing. You have to do the entire $2.7 million project. That was the most disconcerting to me, because of our, earlier plans to wait till the summer. And the bigger picture to me is the city has to come up with 1.7 million approximately for this project. And I don't think that your general fund, which is probably where most of it come from, is really set up well to fund that kind of thing when you have the east intersection you want to do and some other projects, and then some other increases in cost, et cetera. So I'd be concerned spending 1.7 million, and it's not on a project that you identified in your priority list or whatever you might put for your overall direction, but it's something that's come up, okay, and it's a great project. However, on the flip side, you can't, the idea is that 1.7 million you're going to have to stick in will save that much money over the next 20 years in utility bills. That's a proposal. I mean, there's no guarantee for it. They won't say, oh, we guarantee you're going to win that. You're going to gain that. And there are so many facets and so many aspects to energy costs. I think over the next 20 years, it'd be really hard to guess if you're going to save money on it. So you've been thinking about this for a little while, but I'm of the opinion you need to say no to this grant, because you don't want to commit to the whole thing yet. And maybe later, let's say the summer comes and there'll be more money, maybe the state or the feds will say, here's some more money, and make it something more attractive to you to take on. And maybe they could go into geothermal when we can get another grant. I don't know. But I think right now, $51,000 to commit to something that's going to cost you 1.7 is a scary proposition. So it's up to you to decide what you want to do. That's my thoughts.
So I actually want to piggyback off what you're saying, because the White House came out with their budget today. And in that that budget. They are cutting Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Green New Deal funding, Global Environment Facility and Climate Investment Funds, Environmental Protection Agency Environmental Justice, EPA research grants to non-governmental organizations, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrations, Department of Energy, Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, Advanced Research Projects Agency, renewable energy programs at the Department of the Interior, and the Bureau of Land Management Conservation Program.
Doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Now, Congress could then say that that's a no-go. It's still that opportunity to have those happen, but the fact that all of those energy things are up for potential cuts and getting rid of, I don't want to do this.
It seems to me like McKinstry is trying to really shove this down our throats and has been since the get-go, and it doesn't seem like a solid plan all the way around when it's gonna take us 20 years to recoup our money back out of it through supposed cost savings when we don't even know what the future's gonna hold in, like Scott said, in the energy sector. There might be something else that comes along, it's just whatever, we don't know.
I'm personally more concerned with the fact that we invest money in doing some of this stuff, and then the grant goes through.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with that, and, I don't know. I always thought the geothermal one was not gonna happen because of the cost associated with it. We don't have that kind of money. We'd have to take it right now.
Well, we have an aging building, and I know that this building is needing some updates. La Plata Electric, their source for energy for us, I think that's going to change dramatically. I wish we could be forward-thinking right now. I wish we could put in systems that would save the town money in the long run and improve energy efficiency, because I think we're going to need it at some point. This geothermal piece is, it's a shame that it's tied to it, because I would love to see an opportunity for us to take advantage of some of the grant, but if it's an all-in-one inclusive, I don't think we can do it. I just know that for our town, we are going to have to look at this in some sort of comprehensive, preemptive way, because things are changing. I mean, Kathy reported in her finances that our electricity's whacked out right now. I mean, we're going to have these challenges ahead, and I wish we could right now put in solar panels and do retrofitting on all of our low-flow toilets and all these things that would make a big difference, but I just don't see that we can do this now. And it's a shame, because a year ago, that all made really good sense, and I remember Nicole even saying that there were other grants that would help offset, that entire thing. It's just, the town was too late getting through it and making a decision on it, and we missed our opportunity to lock down those fundings.
We had to get the grants approved too, and
Right,
that
that's
came
what I mean.
later, and, yeah, it just.
But there were some issues that slowed all that up. So anyways, yeah, I think it stinks, but it is what it is.
Well, I think, we should, just like Jeremy came up with a plan for the streets and rotating them and stuff like that, we need to have a plan like that for the facilities and
Future
try
projects.
to work on those in that manner to see what projects come up next and make it more equitable so that, it's not all inclusive in 1 year that we're doing upgrades or fixing whatever.
Like a 10-year plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Does
I agree.
Anyone else have any comments? Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to not approve the geothermal grant agreement at this time, understanding that the current grant funds could be deauthorized.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.
Trustee Katsas?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Crack seal bids.
Yeah, so if you remember in the 2025 budget, we did add a few dollars to the crack seal project that we do annually. Went from $40,000 to $60,000, which triggered a rebid. We did send it out. We got actually some pretty competitive bids back. Sasquatch seal coating here in Bayfield was a low bidder. And Public Works, I'd like to recommend awarding the 2025 crack seal project to Sasquatch seal coating, Mr. Buck Taylor.
Any issues with this company at all that you're aware of?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Just because sometimes the lowest bid isn't always the best choice.
Right.
Oh.
But yeah.
Are they
he's-
local? But they're
he's-
local, you said?
He's local, and they've done they did the cemetery over here.
Yeah.
And also, if you drive by mini storage off of 501, they've done work over there, so all the references check out.
Great. Okay. I just wanted to double check.
So, we got 60 grand in there, and your prioritized roads are 110 grand? 109, 110?
Well, we'll do $60,000. Once we hit $60,000, the project ends. So what we're trying to do is get through, we'll get through our chip seal project we have coming up. Those will be the #1 roads we do. We'll get through the $60,000, and the thought process behind that is it'll give us a good quantity of lane miles that we're gonna be able to cover. If we can get the same pricing next year, we're gonna catch up on the crack seal, and then we'll go back into a 3-year surface treatment project. Crack seal since COVID, we haven't been getting a third of the way through town. We've been getting probably, I don't know, a fifth maybe of the streets done, and we're getting really far behind. So if we haven't been in Mesa Meadows for years, Dove Ranch is behind as well too. So we're wanting to get some of the maintenance caught back up over the next couple years, and then apply some of those sales tax dollars back to the surface treatment. So we'll get 60 grand worth and then fire them. Well, tell them to quit. But it's in the contract documents as well too.
Yeah.
So if you do approve a contractor tonight, we'll execute the contracts, and it's $3.33 a pound is what I believe the low bid was, and that'll be up to $60,000 applied. So once they hit that mark, then crack sealing will cease for 2025.
Okay. Good plan.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the 2025 crack seal project to Sasquatch seal coating for $3.33 per pound.
Not to exceed 60 grand.
Oh, not to exceed 60 grand.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.
Trustee Katsas?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Town Hall landscaping. Is Josh doing, is he up there?
Hello,
So
Josh.
Josh is online. Anyway,
Okay.
in the CIP, in the general fund, there was landscaping to be done outside. I think Josh put a memo together for the packet, and if I understand correctly, it does fall within the budget expenditure for the
It's
capital
actually
improvement.
over by
Yep.
6,677.
He's over budget?
Yeah, in the budget for this year it was 30,000.
Talking with Josh, he was gonna try to utilize some of the irrigation funds that we also put in CIP, I believe, to
Yes.
cover the additional cost of the landscaping. The contractor, from what Josh relayed to me, is gonna be looking at our irrigation as well, and while they're taking out all this landscaping, be replacing the drip irrigation, which I can attest needs to be done. 'Cause the
So
drip
that's
irrigation-
part of this?
That would be part of that. So they're gonna do the irrigation and the landscaping for that amount, so we would like to just combine those two to cover that cost. So we do have the funds for it.
Okay. So I would just recommend on the next time that he does this, that he includes both budgets, that he talks about the budget for the drip.
How it's being
How
covered.
it's being covered.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
That
so
way,
that's his.
because then it's not out of budget, it's,
If you do make your motion, just maybe put something to that effect.
yeah, well, we got you.
We'll make sure that that is the case, but just from talking to him, that's what I gathered.
And this landscaping is to come into compliance with the new state law that takes to remove the lawn from places, municipal buildings that's not being
No.
used?
This is,
That's not it. Go ahead.
No?
Sorry.
my understanding is it's to remove the river rock and go back in with mulch and xeriscape a lot of these portions of the town hall landscaping, as well as sprinkler improvements that Mark talked about as well.
Replacing dead shrubs, and so the issue that we have is the fabric is deteriorated, the rock is full of dirt, it's overgrown with weeds, so on a maintenance perspective, instead of it just looking nice and pretty, he's having to weed eat it. Can't really spray it because there's a lot of plants and trees in there that'll die because of that. So we would just like to re-landscape it and get, you know, the curb appeal of town hall looking better.
So are you gonna keep the lawn?
So it's not gonna be the lawn. The lawn thing was a total different deal. That was a grant that we were supposed to get. I don't
Right.
know where Josh is at with that, but removing some of that turf and doing xeriscape was a separate deal from this. This is like around the perimeter of the
Building, yeah.
building, all the landscaping of the river rock that's there would be to remove that, replace the dead shrubs and trees, and put new ground cover fabric and new mulch or whatever type of ground cover that he wants to, or, you know, we all agreed to put. Which from taking care of this building prior to Josh for 4 years and being a landscaper for 15 years, it needs to be done. It's full of weeds, it's full of dirt, it's a lot of maintenance. You can't really do, you know, much with 3-inch rock in there. So it needs to be redone and ripped out, and the irrigation needs to be addressed too. But this company has agreed to do all that, which I think would be a great project for the town to take on and hire this company to do, because it needs to be done, in my opinion.
Are we going to retain that rock?
We can. I don't know what we could utilize it for. If Public Works has you know, we have spots to put it.
It'd probably cost more to try and screen it than it would. I don't know how they're gonna take it out.
Can we sell it to somebody?
I got
A
bunch of it if you
landscaper?
wanna sift through it behind the sewer plant.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
you guys go out there and pick rocks.
Yeah.
But
Okay. I just know rock's expensive.
They did bid to screen it and put it back in, but I wouldn't put that big
No,
rock back
no.
there. It's too hard
Yeah.
to maintain. With mulch, we might have to refresh it every year, but as far as, you know, keeping the weeds out, working on the irrigation, it's just easier to work with. Big old heavy rock and you know, and maybe some of the areas, if there's a drainage issue off the roof or something, we'll leave that, but I wouldn't, I think you'd kind of be depleting the purpose if you put all that rock back in there.
Well, and I know the transfer station right out here, every year, they have free mulch.
Right.
So you can go out there and get as much free mulch as you want to put around the
Our thoughts are
town.
is to go with Phoenix Recycling and get, you know, because they got some pretty good quality mulch. Sometimes that free mulch is like a cypress mulch that's from a tree company that's kind of not the greatest
Yeah.
looking, or, you know, but you can buy 30 yards for $300 through Phoenix
Yeah, it's not
Recycling.
Yeah,
so-
gotcha.
And
So-
that's incorporated into this bid.
Okay. I was just thinking about how we
Yeah.
could make money off that rock.
My only concern is when I look at the estimate that was given by Advanced Designs, Land and Waterscapes, they don't mention the drip system at all in here. And so I'm concerned that,
Yeah, I think he's
That's
got a
missing out of
separate
there?
estimate for the irrigation that's not included.
why don't we get it corrected and bring it back to you
I
the
would
next
love
meeting
that, yes.
with both of those
Yes.
capital improvement projects listed and costs associated with it? That way you have a clear understanding of what you guys are spending your
that
money
would
on.
be perfect.
Okay.
Do you need a
I'll look at
motion
it
to
before it goes in
table?
the packet.
Yeah, we need to table it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table the town hall landscaping.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.
Trustee Ketzes?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Next up is Board of Trustees reports and requests for future agenda items and committees. Got this letter from the fire department tonight. If you guys are okay, I'm gonna go ahead and sign that, if we can get it on some letterhead somehow.
You would need a motion for that, I believe.
I'm not sure what. we're
To
talking
do a letter of support, doesn't he need a motion for a letter of support?
For the
For
fire department.
And the letter of support for the fire department for what? For a grant?
They're requesting federal funding to assist with the construction of a new firehouse.
That we're in support of it.
And and this has been discussed?
No.
You're all aware of it?
No.
He gave this to us at the beginning of the meeting, but it's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
We should wait.
I think you should put it on the agenda, and then there should be some sort of discussion about it,
Yes.
and
Okay.
then vote.
So are we okay to put that on the agenda?
Yeah. I think
Yes.
Super, thanks, you guys.
I'll get you that.
Can I get a copy of that? The
Yes,
letter?
I'll give it to you. I can send you an electronic one.
Oh, there you go. That's even better. Then he doesn't have to scan it or anything.
Trustee Harts,
Nothing?
Trustee Ketsos,
Let's see, I attended the Region 9 meeting last Thursday, and they did talk about the enterprise zone. It is a requirement that each area that has an enterprise zone, and Region 9 does this for our entire area of Region 9. They submitted reports about how many people use it in what area and whatnot. And this is in regards to the recertification of the enterprise zone boundaries, which they are assessing right now. They do it every 10 years. They take census data and unemployment rates and populations and determine the need and the support of an enterprise zone. So we currently have a wonderful enterprise zone that runs right up the center of Pine River Valley, all the way up to Vallecito. That may be affected, it depends. I do know that there isn't much activity with people applying for enterprise zone benefits in Bayfield, which is kind of sad. Minkos, talking about enterprise tax zone, they've done a fabulous job with their creative district, their downtown area. They're doing all kinds of amazing things that creates economic development and support for them. They have a wonderful thing called the Burro Fest. The Burro Fest, Burro, donkeys, and they do a big festival around the donkeys, and this will be their 6th year. And every year, it just grows and grows, and they have all kinds of vendors and food and music and all that kind of great stuff. So she was going to send us a flyer that I can share with you guys, should you want to go to the Burro Fest.
It wasn't this last weekend?
No, I don't think so. It's coming. Yeah. Let's see, what else? Interesting thing. I think this is very informative. So there is a bill before the governor regarding insurance. So right now, people are really being affected by insurance costs, especially if you live in a fire area, which is becoming anywhere anymore. But the bill is going to require that the insurance companies give the insurers a chance to mitigate. And then the insurance companies would have to come out and verify that mitigation. And then that could affect their availability of insurance and then also being able to get lower insurance rates. So he hasn't signed that yet, but it's before the governor. So I think that would be fabulous if that happened. Let's see. So that's that. Those were things that I thought this board would be interested in. And then I have an Economic Alliance meeting next Tuesday. Oh, one more thing. This is a curveball. So there is the traffic alert building that is located on Wolverine Drive, and it would make a phenomenal building for the town to consider to purchase and turn into a rec center. It is sitting there. It is vacant. The woman who owns it is in a bit of personal distress. She's looking to offload it fairly quickly. She's asking $1.6 million for that building right now, but it's highly negotiable. I know that Pagosa Springs just spent $2.5 million to build their rec center, and but that didn't include the land. That was just building the rec center. To me, this seems like an incredible potential opportunity if we wanted to dig into it, figure out how we could fund this. I know that if we had a building like that, we could do so much more as far as supporting our growing community, our youth, and when I look at the fees that we're collecting for recreation, there's a great opportunity to expand that. And so we'd have to come up with the cost, the overall cost, and then also the return, and then the cost of maintenance. But it might be worth considering if we just maybe had a work session or even an executive session around discussing that opportunity. I think if you guys haven't looked at it as a potential retrofit for a rec center, I highly recommend you go over there and walk around, stand in front of it. It's already got a massive open area. It's got office space up front. We could even have like a party space, so we could additionally rent it for parties, especially kids' birthdays, things like that. It's along the bike path, and it abuts the high school and the kids that could easily walk and participate with rec centers. You got the bike trails and whatnot. So anyhow, I wanted to throw that out as something for you guys to noodle and ponder, and maybe let's put together a work session to figure out if that's even feasible.
How do you utilize it, us being an enterprise zone?
Well, wait, first of all, if we want to do this, we can schedule it for a future agenda item and have a
Yes.
discussion on it instead of discussing it now.
Yeah. I'm just throwing ideas out there.
So if that's the pleasure of the board, then we need to let Dustin know? Is there,
I was just asking about the enterprise zone.
would the board like to have this on a future agenda item?
No.
I got one no and one yes.
I would.
Two yeses, one no.
So I understand
What-
enterprise zone, so I don't feel like I need to know, but.
This
happy
isn't
to-
for an enterprise zone. This is for a rec center to
This
discuss.
is discuss buying this building.
Yeah, to discuss buying the building for a rec center as an alternative. And it's really what I'm proposing is that we discuss it, that we
Discuss it.
put it on the agenda, that we get some data behind it, we look at costs, we look at benefit, and to see, I mean, we could maybe purchase this building, which is perfect, it's got great parking, for $1 million, and potentially retrofit it for maybe somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000. We're way below the cost of buying land and building it ourselves. It just, we have a desperate need for a rec center.
Well, I don't doubt that, but I feel like cart before the horse, because we have a park plan, and that's part of the park plan.
No, there is no rec center in the park plan. There's no rec center in the park plan.
But
this
that is
was-
what the people asked for, so it's part of it whether or not it's part of it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's part of that piece of it,
Two
and we
separate
need to
things.
discuss whether or not we're gonna go and take what items to vote, I think, before, and that should be all
We
one and
should,
the
yeah, we should
same.
do it all in the same
Yes,
work
it should be
session.
all one and the same,
Sure.
not separated out in little piecemeal things, you know what I mean? Do you,
And we,
did the rest of you guys understand what I'm talking about?
I just
'Cause we
think-
talked about taking some items to the public for taxation potential. We talked about getting together and talking about what those items may be,
Right.
you know, and
Putting it forward
and-
for a ballot initiative.
yes, a
Right,
ballot initiative.
Right.
And
For
I think
tax.
that this could be part of that ballot initiative discussion we eventually will have.
But we need to have that sooner than later,
I-
if we want to
if we're
consider
gonna
it for
have a
this year.
yeah, if we're gonna have a discussion, we have to have some things to discuss, like who's gonna put together the cost of this? I mean, to make it a valid option, we need to know some costs, we need to know if there's enough
Well,
parking.
and I
need-
think we
like-
can address those things on an agenda item
I
and
agree.
say,
Yes, yes.
let's just go look at the building and see if it's feasible and then include it into the park plan or not.
Yeah.
But
Correct.
just just have the discussion first on where we want to go with that, or if we want to go with that.
Number one, I wanted to bring it to your attention. Number two, we understand that there's a huge need. Number three, the public said we would love to have a
Right.
rec center.
Right,
So
but we need to look at the whole
Yeah.
thing first.
let's have a work session.
Well, it'd be an agenda item. So I'll ask the question one more time. Do we want to have an agenda item or not? Board.
Yes.
Yes.
Laura, you're still a yes? 3? 3.5?
Yeah.
No.
I would be willing to have an agenda item on it.
Okay, let's do it.
So, yeah.
So just for my clarity, Mr. Mayor, you want it as an agenda discussion item, not a work session?
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Is that it?
And we'll task Stephen with that job. I'm looking right at you, mister.
Quiet.
That's what we were all just discussing. Who's doing this?
I have the perfect person.
Rock, paper, scissors back there. Yeah. All right, we'll go on to the next one.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin, you're up.
Oh, well, as I've told you about, the Good Food Collective is working on developing plans for our food environment in the Four Corners area. I did send, I sent to Dustin an email from them, which he's going to send out to all of you. They're having 2 big work sessions next week, Monday and Tuesday. They're either 3 or 4 hours long each. The first one is to decide on what priorities they want to address, whether they're doing commercial food preparation space, or they've got 3 or 4 different things that they're going to discuss during that time period to prioritize. And that is going to be at the Pine River Library, right up here. And then the second day is to discuss how they're going to implement those proposals. And that is going to be in Hesperus, probably at the Grange, but it's in the email that he is going to send to you. So I'm definitely going to them, and I'll be able to tell you a lot more after I've been to that. But I hope some of the others can come, some of the people can come. Especially the one Pine River Library, it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
You two aren't working.
Friendly reminder, if you guys do go, please let me know so I can public notice. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all I've got.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes, so the La Plata Economic Development Alliance meeting was actually scheduled for tomorrow, but they've canceled it because it's the SBDC conference tomorrow. Small Business Development Center is putting on a business development conference. I'm not going to be attending that, so I won't be able to report back on it. I'll be on vacation. And then the Regional Housing Alliance had their second annual Southwest Housing Summit on April 29th. It was very successful. They sold out all of their tickets to the event. They started the morning out talking about modular manufacturing in the region and kind of some of the changes that have happened in that. They had 3 panelists from Higher Purpose Homes, Timber Age, and Jiffy Block that kind of presented the different types of building and what was involved in those. It was really interesting to hear how they're built and how they are up to code and different from mobile homes in the past. And then their keynote presentation was done by Nolan Gray, who wrote the book Arbitrary Lines, which is a book about zoning and how smart zoning reforms can actually help housing opportunities. And so kind of gave, a lot of the municipalities that joined some ideas on that. And then the afternoon, they talked about creative financing and how public-private partnerships have worked to make affordable housing happen in our region. And when they talk about public-private partnerships, it has to do with like municipalities going in. You've got them getting grants from the government. Then you have, your manufacturers that are doing housing that's a lower cost, quicker build. You have partnerships with like Homes Fund and those sort of thing, and just that creative packaging and leveraging of all these different organizations to make affordable housing work. And then in the afternoon, they talked about some of the projects that were going on. Thought it was really interesting because they even had the community development director from Pagosa Springs come and talk about their projects that they're doing in their area as well. So it was kind of neat to hear that it's not just La Plata County that's doing it, but it's also happening in other regions around us. Overall, it was a great event, lots of information, lots of connections to be made as far as, different organizations to see what they're doing and kind of see what the housing industry is panning out to be like. And that's all I have.
I also attended that, but I knew you were going to speak about it, and I
Thank you,
didn't
I
want
appreciate
to,
it.
didn't want to waste the
Don't-
time, but it was excellent.
Yeah.
It was excellent. I'm really
Trustee
glad I
Nyberg?
went.
The next Southwest TPR meeting is June 12th.
Okay,
That's a long time, huh? Did not have one in May?
with
But we're
that,
on our topic
we're going into an executive session.
Can I run to the restroom?
I'm going to.
Well, not till we make the motion.
Oh, shoot.
Make a motion
Talk
first.
fast.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go into executive session in accordance with CRS Section 24-72-204, parentheses 3, parentheses A, parentheses Roman numeral 9, and CRS Section 24-6-402, parentheses 3.5, and CRS Section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses E, parentheses I, and parentheses F, parentheses I, determining positions that may be subject to negotiations and consideration of documentation, resumes, letters of reference, and other materials for conducting and discussion of a personnel matter under CRS Section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses F, and 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses B, not involving any specific employees who have requested discussion of the matter in open session, any member of this body or any elected official, the appointment of any person to fill an office of this body or of an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of matters personal to particular employees. The topics involve parentheses A, status of previous negotiations and continued town manager search, parentheses B, discussion, consideration in terms of extending interim town manager agreement, and parentheses C, legal issues concerning the KRW letter of agreement concerning previous search for town manager candidates.
And who would you like to include?
And the following additional details are.
That's
And-
for something else.
Okay, that's what I thought. Participating in this executive session are trustee Nyberg, trustee Katzos, trustee Moreland, trustee McLaurin, Mayor town manager Scott Hahn, HR director Marie Kem,
Michael
town
Coleman.
attorney Michael Goldman. Anyone else? Oh, and myself. Thank you, trustee Harts.
That was a motion.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.